In the new year of 1665, Europe marveled at an atlas hailed as the finest ever published. A window on a whole new world has been thrown open. Crafted by two generations of the Blau family, a Dutch cartographic dynasty, these maps depicted the globe with unprecedented clarity. On one map, beside the land marked China, stood a curious figure, a general in a crimson robe, fingering his long beard, yet with a prominent nose and deep-set Western eyes. Who is he? And how did this unfamiliar face become the chosen emblem of an ancient civilization? By his side is a figure that hints at an answer to that question, the attendant holding a green dragon crescent blade. That man is Guan Yu, a legendary general for the late Eastern Han Dynasty, deified and revered for generations as Lord Guan, Emperor Guan, and Holy Ruler Deity Guan in Chinese civilization. The reverence for heroes is universal. To this very day, more than 300 years later, this superhero remains an icon worldwide, captivating legions of admirers. History has never lacked for valiant warriors. Yet why did Guan Yu become one of the rare few to transcend time, borders, and belief? How did his spirit take root in soil thousands of miles away and grow into an evergreen legend, the very embodiment of strength, loyalty, and righteousness? It's an intriguing story, a mystery even. Let's unravel it together. The tide of history ebbs and flows, and the vicissitudes of fate do as they will. So it was that in 3rd century China, war raged across the land. Wei, Su, and Wu carved the realm into 3 rival kingdoms, giving rise to one of the most mythologized eras in Chinese history. Ma Shuming's team brings together young people from across China.
新英雄上是 SP 光宇，它包括他的胡子啊、头发啊，应该是加一点白色的东西上去。
Through immersive games, they seek to recreate the epic battlefields of the 3 kingdoms and bring to life the legendary General Guan Yu, known as the God of War. In the 8th lunar month, the Hanjiang River swells, its currents surging untamed. Just the time of year for a group of young explorers to journey upriver, tracing the very landscape where, more than 1,800 years ago, a pivotal battle in the late Eastern Han Dynasty once shaped the very course of history and set China on the path toward the 3 kingdoms, unfolding in this same season of high waters.
其实，在东汉末年的乱世中，关羽就像是一股清流。
他是一个天才，是一个战神，也被后世尊称为武圣。
所以我们会选择襄樊之战这样一个他的人生的高光时刻，作为我们最好的一个切入点。
In a land rich with heroes, where the annals of history brim with tales of valor, Guan Yu's biography still stands. Truly, this is the man who shook the heart of China. But what kind of battle could inspire such words, lifting his name beyond time and etching it into the very soul of a nation?
欢迎各位来宾来到丹江口水利枢纽工程。现在，请各位来宾随着我手指的方向看去。
Harnessing nature's power is the ultimate testament to human wisdom. The same rain that fell relentlessly over the ancient battlefield now drips gently onto Ma Shuming's umbrella, a bridge across 18 centuries. In the year 219 AD, with Hanzhong secured and a kingship claimed, the warlord Liu Bei ordered Guan Yu northward to strike at Xiangyang and Fancheng, pushing deep into the Central Plains. Along the tense frontier where the three kingdoms met, Xiangyang and Fancheng faced each other across the Hanjiang River, a strategic stronghold for Wei forces to resist advances from both Shu and Wu. Wei's ruler Cao Cao dispatched two of his top generals, Eugene and Pang De, to garrison north of Fancheng and hold back Guan Yu's advance.
这场战役对于关羽应该是地狱难度级别的。
关羽其实是以一个老迈的身躯啊，那时候已接近60岁啊，然后庞德甚至还抬着棺材出征，以示一定要守住樊城的决心。
包括于禁号称是7军，我们参照了一些古籍还有书籍上面来看的话，以古代单位来说的话，每一个军大概是4000人，整体的一个军力达到28000到3万人左右。但是在关羽这边，可能他大概只有4、5千人，实力对比是非常悬殊的。
Outnumbered and with 7 armies standing in his way, Guan Yu's advance stalled. As the battle reached a stalemate, Guan Yu saw that the terrain held the key to breaking the enemy lines, and a decisive strategy began to take shape in his mind.
我们这个地方就是白龙堰水库，你们可以飞起来看一下我们几个水库的这个位置。因为我们这个地形呢，它是按照梯次的，有5座水库：黄龙堰、黑龙堰、青龙堰、白龙堰，下游还有一个普陀堰水库，还有一个金牛池和莲花池。那么这5堰2池呢，就构成了这个水淹七军的策源地。相传关羽在考察这个上游的地形的时候啊，他非常有洞察力。然后呢，他就发现这个于禁呢犯了一个兵家大忌，把军队呢驻扎在了这个低洼的地方。而此刻的汉江上游呢，正是洪水泛滥汹涌的季节。于是呢，他就策划了这一场水淹七军的战役。
传令下去，决堰放水。
At the command, the dikes of the 5 weirs and 2 ponds were torn open all at once, unleashing 7 torrents that roared toward the enemy like tigers. Guan Yu's warships pressed the attack, riding the momentum to victory. In autumn, great rains fell, the Hanjiang River overflowed, the 7 armies under Eugene's command were all engulfed, while Guan Yu's might shook the heart of China. In just a few dozen Chinese characters, in biography of Guan Yu, records of the 3 kingdoms, his reputation was made. His name would resound across the land and go down in history. But was the flood that brought Guan Yu great honor merely the whim of heaven, or an actual cunning ruse devised by the man who would come to be known as the god of war? The truth of the matter lies beyond our reach, lost to the mighty river itself. Nowadays, young explorers sail upstream, across 18 centuries, gliding through the very waters once churned by Guan Yu's warships. Inside Beijing's Palace Museum, a different kind of memory is preserved. The Ming Dynasty painter, Shang Shi, chose not to frame war through the chaos of battle, but rather by attempting to convey a vivid sense of stillness, the calm after the storm, so to speak. In that victory, Guan Yu achieved what generals dream of. He defeated an entire army without losing a single soldier. His foe Pang De, who entered battle with his own coffin, was stripped of everything but his pride. On silk, the scene feels timeless. Beyond the scroll, the river of history flows on, carrying away heroes and eras alike. The 3 Kingdoms was an age that turned men into legends, and legends into immortals. Its stories have given China hundreds of heroes, brave, clever, tragic, and ambitious. Yet among them all, only Guan Yu rose to become the sage of military, a divine figure of war. Only he came to stand alongside Confucius, the sage of culture, as one of the two pillars of Chinese spirit, one governing the world of letters, the other the realm of arms. Gao Kong, a longtime resident of North America and former editor-in-chief of Canada's Multicultural Herald, has a passion beyond the newsroom, attending auctions of Chinese antiques. In 2007, at the sale of a late Canadian diplomat's collection, he was fortunate enough to acquire a blue and white porcelain sculpture from the Ming Dynasty. To his delight, it portrays none other than his own fellow townsman from Shaanxi Province, Guan Yu.
这尊青花关公，丹凤眼，卧蚕眉，髯须垂胸，左手捧着《春秋》在仔细阅读。在看预展的时候，我遇到了一位加拿大的女学者，她问我这是一尊什么瓷塑？我告诉她这是关公。 是中国历史上三国时期非常著名的一个将军。他说：“既然是将军，为什么没有带武器，而是捧着一本书在看？”
This renowned general was as devoted to the literary arts as he was to the martial ones. In this sculpture, fresh from the battlefield, he has just laid down his mighty green dragon crescent blade, yet still wears his armor. Even clad in his battle-worn robes, he would read deep into the night. The book he treasured most was the Spring and Autumn Annals, compiled by the great thinker Confucius.
来，开始啊，走，嘟呀，长，走，关羽出了，将，呀，长，停，不对了，然后幅度太大了。 咱们虽然排的是汉梁除霸，但是呢，要有点儒气。想一下，后边关老爷戴的啥？夫子盔。
对，
关夫子，也就是关羽从小读春秋，明大义，所以不能直接了就懵了。
对，
要有点儒将的感觉。再来，关家呢是耕读世家，关羽的祖父关神是个乡间知识分子，做过当地的盟师，他毕生专攻春秋，所以说。 这本书也是他们家的家学新传。少年关公嘛，对，眼神起来。
The Puju opera, Loyalty and Righteousness Through the Ages, is about to debut. Actor Li Jiandong faces an unprecedented challenge. He must transform quickly from the mighty god of war, whose fame once shook all of China, and step into the spiritual world of the young Guan Yu.
我塑造的是19岁的关羽，那时候天下大乱，他在家乡汉梁的平静生活即将被打破，那个曾赋予他精神滋养的礼乐秩序濒临着崩塌，和孔子编修《春秋》时候的处境非常相似的。
长，对，光彩，长。
The principles of ritual and music are ways by which human beings develop virtue and order. Through the veil of time and dust, the chime of bronze from over 2 millennia ago still echoes. The measured tones of these ancient instruments subtly mirrored the orderly frame of a ritual-based world. Yet Confucius, who had dedicated his life to spreading the philosophy of ritual governance across the land, witnessed at 70 years old, his own country falling into turmoil, its traditions shattered, its music and rituals lost.
孔子内心里面充满着一种愤懑，我甚至称它为义愤填膺的这么一个心理状态下，在这个时候做春秋，这个书一成啊，叫乱臣贼子惧，就是用他的笔做刀做剑，对他们进行了一番严肃的、毫不留情的鞭挞。他就是要拨乱反正，恢复他心目当中的大一统的这种理想，这是春秋大义的核心要义。
Time grinds the inkstone. The waters of the brush-washing pool rise and fall. In his twilight years, Confucius could never have foreseen that his vision of an ordered world would not only survive the chaos of his era, but seep into the very lifeblood of China, inspiring generations to come. And more than 6 centuries later, a young man would devote his entire life to the spring and autumn ideals poured forth by the sage. Trained in martial arts and the spring and autumn annals from a young age, what kind of spiritual and moral nourishment did Guan Yu draw from Confucius's spring and autumn ideals?
相较于《春秋》这样一部经书哈，那么《左传》作为一部解释它的书，围绕《春秋》讲了很多历史，打仗的，会盟的，君臣相处的。
It was in these vivid chronicles of a bygone era that the young Guan Yu found his very own moral compass. So it was that the ideals of loyalty, justice, benevolence, and courage began to take root in him and grow. It was during his 19th year, on a stormy night, that the wheel of fate turned abruptly. At the entrance to the village, Guan Yu came across a man broken down with grief. Local bully Liu Xiong sought to seize the man's only daughter and take her as his concubine. Even in a turbulent age in which corruption thrived, Liu Xiong's collusion with officials and oppressive behavior was notorious. The sight of this helpless old man aroused Guan Yu's righteous indignation and spurred him to act. Under cover of darkness, he slipped into Liu Xiong's house and struck down the bully and his lackeys without mercy. With his first recorded act of justice, Guan Yu announced his arrival into manhood. Chinese families have long favored the vibrant seasons of spring and early summer to mark their children's coming of age. The placing of the cap upon the head marks the beginning of the journey into adulthood. Ahead lies a road that's all about cultivating one's character and embracing responsibilities toward family, society, and country.
Bye! Xing!
Among those drawn to this tradition are 2 devoted admirers of Guan Yu, Takmina from Uzbekistan and Ryan from the US. They traveled all the way to the Guan Yu temple in Yuansheng to take part in the annual rite of passage.
When I was a kid, I heard about the story and I discovered all these interesting characters, Cao Cao, Liu Bei, Lu Bu, and Guan Gong. I think Guan Gong is especially righteous and super powerful hero.
他不像电影里的超级英雄有超能力，他就是个普通人。我感觉关于成为英雄人物和他的家人成长环境有大的关系。
欢迎各位同学呢来到关羽的出生地长平关帝家庙。
The Guan Yu ancestral temple in Chongping village, Yuansheng, is believed by locals to be the birthplace of a legendary superhero.
那么同学们来看这座砖塔，这个塔呢被称作是祖宅塔，就是在关老爷家里面修建的。当地的百姓呢尊称它为忠义塔。这个塔呢实际上是一口井塔，塔下呢是一口井，这个井里面呢埋葬的是关羽的父母。为什么呢？
Guan Yu's fight against the local bully had consequences. Persecuted by the authorities, he was forced to flee. With Guan Yu gone, his whole clan was now at risk, and his aged parents, unable to escape, drowned themselves in a well so as not to burden or endanger others.
我们说参天之树呀必有其根，那么关老爷刚正的性格正是源自于他的父母。以己回目，冠以忠义之名的这座砖塔，就是为了纪念关老爷的仗义之行和对他父母的崇高礼敬。
Though the hero left his hometown and body, his spirit and legacy there endured. By the old well stands the Loyalty and Righteousness Pagoda, bearing witness to the sorrow that marked his youth. History remembers Guan Yu, not for laughter or joy, but for a face as solemn as carved stone. He was the fearsome god of war, inspiring awe across the land. Yet also a mortal man, burdened by the weight of duty and honor. Even his surname, Guan, passed down through generations, has its origins in a tragic and heroic episode. Legend has it that Guan Yu's earliest ancestor was Guan Longpong, known as the first high-ranking official in Chinese history to speak up for the people and die for remonstrating with the ruler. Neighboring Guan Yu's hometown of Haizhou, Xiaxian County was once Anyi, the capital of the Xia dynasty, China's earliest slave society. The last ruler of the Xia dynasty, King Jie, was cruel, violent, decadent, and tyrannical. The loyal and upright Guan Longpong risked his life to admonish him, only to be accused of rebellion against the throne and beheaded atop the Jade Terrace. It was said that after Guan Longpong's death, his descendants fled to escape persecution and shortened their compound surname, Guan Long, to plain Guan.
就位举过100、200、300。 平水。
The affairs of 1,000 years fade into dust, yet the green hills remain unchanged. That night, the moon stood alone in its brightness, and the wind rose again. Did Guan Yu, forced to flee his homeland for showing compassion and striking down injustice, bear the same weight in his heart? As the dust followed in the wake of his horse, and he looked back across what must have seemed like 10,000 miles. The lamp lighting his solitary road may just as well have been the two characters carved on his ancestor's tomb wall: loyalty and remonstrance. In 184 AD, as spring breezes swept across northern China, peach blossoms burst into radiant bloom in the city of Zhuozhou. At the time, Liu Bei, a destitute relative of the Han imperial clan, sold shoes-in mats to survive. Meanwhile, Guan Yu, then a fugitive hiding in Zhuozhou, roamed the streets peddling beans. And there was also Zhang Fei, a burly, dark-faced butcher with a thick beard. The three met by chance in a humble tavern. It was a fateful encounter. Over that shared meal, the three became sworn brothers.
不求同年同月同日生，但愿同年同月同日死。皇天厚土，明鉴此心，备恩忘义，天人共怒。
This oath became the ultimate symbol of loyalty and brotherhood in Chinese culture. What greater pledge can a person make than to stake his very life on friendship? In truth, the young fugitive hero stood at a crossroads of destiny. Turbulent times saw warlords rising everywhere. Zhang Jiao, who led a sweeping rebellion. Dong Zhuo, with his fearsome armies, and the ambitious Cao Cao, Yuan Shao, and Yuan Shu. Each was bold, cunning, and hungry for power. With his exceptional martial skill, Guan Yu could have served under any of these men and risen to glory. Yet he chose to follow Liu Bei, a man with no wealth, no land, and no troops. Why?
关羽之所以跟随刘备也跟关羽本身从春秋当中可能领悟到的这种责任相关。所谓天下兴亡，匹夫有责。东汉末年处于这样一个失序的状态群雄并起国家分裂。 他其实是非常认同刘备政治上恢复一统的这样一个非常大的一个理想，正像孔子当年希望恢复到当初有序的太平的一种社会。
So, when he encountered the down-and-out Liu Bei on the streets of Zhuozhou, he saw not just a companion, but a torchbearer of the Han's rightful legacy. In choosing Liu Bei, Guan Yu chose to defend the nation itself.
The ancient town of Zhuxian in Taipei, Guangong Temple and Yuefei Temple stand side by side as neighbors.
Pedicab driver Xu Shijie has been captivated by the tales of the three kingdoms since childhood. His admiration for his idol, Guan Yu, has become a lifelong devotion. For 20 years, he's pedaled his tricycle by day and studied English by night. With a thick local accent, he regales travelers with stories of the war god, Guan Yu, and another legendary hero, Yue Fei.
So inside, it houses a revered figure, great hero, Guan Yu. He is idolized by many, including Yue Fei.
Yue Fei, the famous Southern Song Dynasty general, was one of Guan Yu's greatest admirers. He once wrote, "To live, model yourself on Guan Yu and Zhang Fei. Why fear death when loyalty is the price?" He's well known for the tattoo on his back. Serve the country with utmost loyalty.
忠义是关公的精神里面最核心的一个部分，对于后代的影响是非常巨大的。岳飞的这个忠呢，那么其实就是忠的一个传承。这个忠，我觉得它的一个更高的一个境界呢，是从最初的忠于君主，变为忠诚于国家、忠于民族、忠于人民。而它的表现就表现为我们对于群体的担当和坚守，这是我们中国的忠的一个最具有生命力的一个核心所在。
Clad in loyalty and wielding courage, Guan Yu fought through 30 years of war, dueling the most renowned fighters of his time. At 40, he rode alone into enemy ranks to behead their commander and save an entire city. At 49, he was honored as the general who quells bandits and governs Xiangyang. At 54, he guarded Jingzhou, protecting the realm and people. the city of Jingzhou stood unbreakable. The Victory Street was named for its heroes. For a decade, Guan Yu held the gates of Jingzhou. Each time the general returned victorious, villagers lined the streets, beating drums and cheering to welcome him home. But in 220 AD, there was no victory parade for Guan Yu. As he advanced north against Cao Cao, his ally, Sun Quan, betrayed him. Sun's force struck from behind, seizing the strategic city of Jingzhou. Forced to turn back, Guan Yu found his stronghold had already fallen.
关羽要进城，只有攻城，那攻城肯定要付出牺牲，要付出代价，尤其还伤害到百姓，他当然不忍心让自己的老百姓遭到伤害。所以关羽有一句话，他说：“这个城是我修的，我不忍心破坏。”
To attack or retreat, win or lose, history gave him choices. Yet Guan Yu chose mercy over conquest. After 4 decades of ceaseless war, his battle-hardened heart still held a tender place. What he defended with his life was not just a military stronghold for Shu Han, but the peace of the realm and the well-being of its people.
所以最后向西走，败走麦城，造成了一个悲剧。所以这个问题，我们历史上说大义失荆州，说他大义了，这个义字就改一下，改成忠义的义，大义凛然的义，这才是关羽的真正选择。
History summarizes his fate as a lapse, but time has not settled the truth of the matter. That day, as he turned his horse away, he rode toward not just his final moments, but also an unshakable faith. Though mighty cities have crumbled to dust and empires faded into memory, why is it that Guan Yu's hold on the Chinese imagination remains as strong as ever? It's because over the course of almost 2,000 years, the legend of this superhero has been forged into a spiritual pillar of Chinese culture. Engraved on it are 4 eternal virtues: loyalty, righteousness, benevolence, and courage.